Hello and welcome back to Unchained Forever. I hope you're well and I do hope that you pray often. In today's episode, I'm going to address a very important topic called by their fruits we will know them. Meaning that you get to see with your own eyes who, from all the people you interact with and from everything you hear, who are God's people and who are not, by the fruits they bring. Meaning their actions, their sayings, and their right intentions, if their intentions are righteous or not. First, I'm going to read from Matthew chapter 17, verse 15 to 20. Be aware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. So the Bible tells us to be aware, meaning to scan our surroundings and be on the watch for false prophets. What are the false prophets? People who pretend to know God's intentions for people, God's laws for people, people who pretend that they have it. They know, simply they know, they untangled God's laws, God's words. They will tell you what's the right way for you to walk on. So be aware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing. So they pretend to be someone humble, someone without any ulterior motive, without any hidden interest or anything. But inwardly, they're ravenous wolves, meaning that even though they come in sheep's clothing, so they pretend to be humble and quiet and peaceful, they're actually ready to attack you, and they're actually ready to be the most savage being there is in order to take you out of the equation. What does this mean? It means that these people do not care for your well-being, do not care for your peace, for your quiet, do not care what you think, how you feel. In fact, all they want is to make you become further away from God that you've been, and they want to push you even furthermore. So you won't know what's right or wrong, who is God, and what's his actual law that he's given us. So be aware of these false prophets. You will know them by their fruits, it says in verse 16. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit, it is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. Okay, so what does this mean is that we have to pay attention, especially nowadays when people wear so many masks and people shield the truth in so many ways, even the truth about themselves, the truth about this and that. They shield everything, so you will not know the truth. But their fruits mean not only what they say, it also means what they do. And it also means if their words match their actions. And it also means if they are truthful and rightful with every single one. For example, there are many people now who shield the truth about themselves from everyone. I'm not going to enter into deep what this means psychologically, but I'm going to say this. There are so many people out there who have a mask for each and every person they know. They have a mask for their parents, they have a mask for their friends, a mask for their spouse, a mask for the world, a mask for social media, and another mask for whoever. They have also different stories, different stories of how things happened, when they happened, how they happened, for every one of these persons. And what happens is that they say one thing and they do another thing. They say they're going to do this or that, and they end up doing something completely different from what they said they will. Or sometimes there are people who even are so evil in a sense that they knowingly match their sayings with their actions, so people will be so confused in knowing what the truth is actually. So they will say one thing to you and another thing to other. This is one category of people. And another category of people, that those people who will say the same thing, to the same lie to everyone, but it's still a lie. So how can you know, because it's very, very tricky nowadays, how can you know who are these people and what they do? How can you know? There are so many good people nowadays who do so many good deeds just to get validation, just to have other people speak good things about them, just to have their spotlight. Not every good intention is well intended, if that makes sense. Of course, it's good to have good intentions everywhere, even though that sometimes are fake, but the ulterior motive counts a lot, because there are good people and bad people. So how will you even get to see through this kind of evil? What are their fruits? Well, the Bible tells us furthermore in Isaiah 32 verse 17, "And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever." Okay, so now we got a little bit more perspective on what does it mean to bear good fruit. means to be at peace and to rest assured. Quietness and assurance forever. Furthermore, the Bible tells us everything. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 9, we have, "For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth." So here we have our exact fruit, the description of the fruit. So the fruit of the Spirit, which is the Spirit of God, is in all goodness, but also we have goodness which is not well intended running around, remember? Righteousness, but also we have righteousness which is not right running around, remember? And truth. This belongs to the right fruit. So when we have goodness, righteousness, and truth together, we have the good fruit. Because truth is a very important element of this good fruit, truth. Many people run around doing a lot of good deeds, being right and righteous in their ways for several ulterior motives. But one thing that they are not doing and they're not complying with in order to be a good fruit is truth. So when you see someone who does a good deed and you get a little bit of history of who they are or what they do, and you agree that's such a nice thing to do, maybe they do that good deed to you or to someone close to you, and the normal thing to do is validate them, applaud them for what they did, say, well done, that's very good, well done. But not every time a good deed is followed by the truth. Not every time a good deed has true meaning in it. It is very important to have, say, X-ray glasses so you can see, sort of speaking, X-ray glasses. I'm not speaking about actual X-ray glasses, but about a filter that you can use from the Bible so you can see who are the people that surround you, who are those people who can say what they mean and mean what they say. You see, a good person who has a good fruit, they have only one face for everyone. That's not to say that they share everything or they have no secrets which they choose to keep for themselves. No. What it means is that they are the same with everyone. The same person, they are the same, they have their own identity with everyone. This is what it means. They have their same identity with their parents, the same identity with the world, the same identity with their friends, the same identity with themselves. That's truth. When a person has multiple masks, and again, that's not to say that you have to share everything and people in general have to share everything in order to bear good fruit. No, because there is personal life, private life, and also there is public life. And in public life, you are yourself. In private life, you are yourself. Regardless of the things that you keep within closed doors, which are only for you and the ones that you choose to share with. So when you see someone who has the same face everywhere, the same identity, they don't change, the same version, the same light up spirit, the same truthful spirit. When you see someone who stands by the truth, who speaks good of others, of everyone, for that matter. When you see someone who has good intentions in their heart, not only you can feel it, because we can feel it. Each and every one of us has something in them, which is the God Spirit, the Holy Spirit. And we can feel people, we can feel energy, we can feel it. But also, our mind can decide if our spirit is not sure about something, our gut feeling is not certain of something. We can filter those people this way. And we can see exactly who has good fruit, who bears good fruit. It's very tricky nowadays. It used to be a lot more simpler back in the good old days, as they say, because people were more sincere with one another, not because they had good intentions, but because sin wasn't so elevated as now, and in a way lying wasn't invented just yet, so evolved. A lie wasn't so evolved and tricky like nowadays. Nowadays everything is tricky, everyone has ulterior motives, everyone has their own agenda, let's say, which they want to fill in, so they know they want to get somewhere, to be something, to make something of themselves, so they use lie as a mean to get there. That's what they do, whatever it means. Lie is only one of them. There's many sins which they use to get to fill their own personal agenda. Now, to develop on the subject a good fruit, what does it mean, a good fruit? We have to talk about a bad fruit, what a bad fruit is and what a bad fruit looks like. Because in order to see a good fruit from a bad fruit, there has to be a bad fruit. If there is only good and only good around us, which would be ideal to be, and which was before Adam and Eve chose to take from the tree of knowledge, there was only good. And you couldn't tell good or bad because everything was good. There is no good if good is all there is. But if there is bad, you can see good and bad. So, consequently, nowadays we can see good and bad because of the inherited, sort of speaking, sin. We have to talk about what a bad fruit is. And for that, we're going to go in Galatians chapter 5, verse 13 to 21. For brethren, ye have been called unto liberty. This is King James Version, just to remind you. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. For For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Okay, so we have a little bit of introduction on what's wanted from us by God. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. We should love our neighbor as much as we love ourselves. Are people nowadays loving their neighbor, sort of speaking, like the people that they interact with, as much as they love themselves? My battery is running out. No, they're not. And why they're not? Because they have ulterior motives. They don't see another person as precious as they see themselves. Okay, but God teaches us different. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. But if ye bite and devour one another, take heed that ye be not consumed one of another. Okay, so if we bite one another and devour one another, that's a bad fruit. This I say then, walk in the Spirit, ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Okay, so the bad fruit has the lust of the flesh. Remember 7th commandment here. For the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. So our inner being wants to be good, but our flesh, our being, doesn't. So there is a fight here between spirit and flesh. But we are the ones who decide. Never forget that we are the ones who decide. For the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led by the Spirit, ye are not under the law. So if we're led by the Spirit, we're not going to be under the law, because we are led by the Spirit. Now the works of the flesh, this is the bad fruit, this description of the bad fruit. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revilings, and such like. So the list goes on. These are the obvious descriptions of a bad fruit. So whenever you see someone who indulges in either of these, in witchcraft, idolatry, adultery, uncleanness, lasciviousness, envying, so when they envy one another, when they gossip to you about someone else, that's not a good fruit. That's not someone who comes from God. That's not someone who bears good fruit. Okay, so be aware of those people. Be very aware, because sooner or later you'll become them. So watch your surroundings. Drunkenness. Someone who's drunk doesn't bear good fruit. That is not to say that to drink is it's a sin, because I see lots of people who say, well, to drink alcohol it's a sin. Well, once in a blue moon it's not a sin, and everything shall be with moderation. But if you're drunk and you fall from drunkenness to drunkenness, yes, that's a sin. That's a description of a bad fruit. And such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in the time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit, now it goes back to the fruit of the Spirit, the good fruit. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. Okay, so this is to describe the bad fruit and the good fruit, and also to say that the law exists only to temper and erase and show the way to the bad fruit, because these people are people who also benefit from the fact that Jesus has died. But the law is for them who are bearing bad fruit. But those who are bearing good fruit are not under the law, because they have surpassed, in a sense, the law. The law was to show the way, not to be a burden or constant burden. You know the way already. You know what's right and what's wrong, and you choose to bear good fruit. This is to describe the good fruit and the bad fruit, and for you to know your surroundings and to know who are you dealing with, because you need to know nowadays who are you dealing with. By the fruit you will know them. And they are the Christs, have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. So these people have not given in to the temptations of the flesh, which are all those which I mentioned earlier. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk into the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. When you see somebody that gossips a lot, stay away. When you see someone who envies one another, say, that person has more than I do. That's not right. I must have that. That's not a good fruit. When people are desiring vainglory or fame, social media fame, for no reason, they haven't done anything which entitles them to glory. Like they haven't finished, I don't know, a doctorate in something. They haven't done anything worthy of glory, but they want glory just because. Say, just because they're looking good, just because they want glory, they shall have it. So stay away from people who bear bad fruit, who are looking for vain glory, provoking one another. You know, those people who want to fight and have arguments with one another. They're just looking for a reason to get the spark going. Stay away from those people. So I hope I have managed to shed some light onto what is a good fruit and what is a bad fruit. And I hope you do decide for yourself and you apply that filter on your eyes, sort of speaking, on the eyes of your mind. This filter which I mentioned, which comes from the Bible, as always, knowledge for every generation, forever. So be aware of those people and stay safe, and also remember that the people that you surround yourself with are going to influence you more than you think. So if you cannot find or don't have any of the people who bear good fruit around you, it's better to just say no. Because one day, not today, not tomorrow, but one day it will happen. You will become them. So let God be your guide and your very safe place where you can hide whenever you feel uncertain. So until next time, be blessed.